Thank you. So good to see you, steady sitters here. How are we doing this morning? How are we doing? That I like it very much. Thank you. Great, great. So we are funneling a bit. We heard that this morning there's a lot going on in the world. And we have these wonderful panel members and to give a glimpse of how they deal with all the disruptions and the stuff going on very practically. And just a very short introduction, I will pass on the microphone here to representatives Christina and Thomas from the educational realm, coaching realm, and two representatives from the pharmaceutical biotech coaching realm. So maybe just a short word of introduction for each of you. Short. Me in short. Goodness sake. Christina, said it before, President ICF Germany, coach, team coach, consultant. Short as 5, don't get it. Say a sentence about organization you're in. Organizations. Two organizations that I can see as right now is going through change. Our beloved ICF, so to say. Second one that I see is also from the perspective of Solutions Academy as a training provider for coaches. And then besides that, I can bring that experience from clients that I have been supporting going through change as organizational development. Good with the start of it. Ilaria, please.
Hello everyone, my name is Ilaria. I'm part of Bergen Ingelheim and I'm Global Learning Culture Lead. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much, Christina, for the invite. Born and raised in Italy, moved to Germany 5 years ago, 2020. A very good moment to switch countries in the middle of pandemic. I would hand over to you.
Yeah, I introduced myself already, but I'll do again. Anja Milde, DSO coach at Bayer. I'm based in Berlin and business coach, leader, facilitator of transformation. And I think like 20% of my time is really one-to-one coaching.
Hello, I'm Thomas. I'm part of two organizations. There is Professor Dr. Thomas, part of Offenburg University, and for more than 20 years, professor for media management. And the other part is just Thomas, being part of Lernraum Academy. We are a network training and coaching company. We do coaching, training, and consulting, and that's also linked to Christina, where we work together as colleagues, and it allows us, because we're larger than just one or two coaches, to do more complex processes in developing leadership cultures and leadership skills.
Thank you very much. And this panel is brought to you by the facilitator with no voice. In the future, I will do that. My name is Heike Aiello. I'm a fellow board member with Christina on the board of ICF Germany. And I am very curious, and also I represent the coaching and organizations on the board, and that's why I'm especially happy to be here to talk, to make things real in organizations. So this morning we heard about disruptions. We heard about polycrisis on the outside, while in the inside restructuring is probably going on, and probably a digital transformation. With ever less workforce, people get AI, are on the one side intrigued by it, on the other side completely overwhelmed. The whole thing is happening in a hybrid setup. So man, people need to breathe. Can you just unpack for us what is like the major disruption that you are noticing that's impacting your work right now? And we can also... We start from this side again, or Thomas, you want to start from yours?
That's right.
I'm with numbers. I say it every time because I find it, people should know that. That's how I function. So I would say three things I can. First of all, I think I see a lot of need to look at not only individual level but also team level. So there's a lot of discussions in there, and I think the presentation that we'll have later is a case study from SAP around how do you support teams. I see Stefan there in the back, and I know there's going to be more coming. But this level of teams and how do we support teams, so the shift from not just the individual sitting in the team, but the team together really through team coaching and not just agile. The second thing that I see as a big shift is how do you integrate technology without having each individual department doing their own small thing, but really considering all of those risks at a corporate level.
was talking earlier with Colin about compliance and coming from compliance, and I see this reshifting and refocus on the way compliance should be present in organizations and what it actually means from the perspective of processes and not from the perspective of pure legal compliance. And the third thing that I would say is, in terms of people needs, not only at the level of training and development by growing, but how is leadership changing so that we all can take ownership of our own development.
There's a lot in there. Who is recognizing this? What you're saying that are your problems as well? Hardy, yes, absolutely. The rest hasn't listened. No. Okay. Okay. I want to remix things up. Anja, you have your microphone.
There's so many disruptions, I don't know where to start. I mean, first of all, I talked about external disruptions. Imagine a pharmaceutical company, just the announcement that Texas might rise brings up endless planes in the air flying medication over to the US. So why do we change our whole system? We have to keep our daily business up and running. And a lot of fears of people, will I lose my job? Will I still be here? What is my new role? How is leadership looking like? So there's actually nothing the way it was.
I could continue because I see a lot of things. Change was always there, right? It's not something new that changes here. But how fast change is coming and the impact of that change, for sure, for us, something that is really important, and we need to face that. One of the things is, for example, AI. So how is AI shaping that? And we're only at the beginning. So that's also one thing to consider, because AI is not just a new technology, it's a change in the paradigm. Like in the way that we think, in the way that we interact with technology, how we have that kind of dialogue. Before it was just typing, right? And the speed of change. If I think about, for example, my parents, like for them typing was a skill. Like you could have a job because you knew how to type. Now, who would put typing as a skill on a resume? It's considered a hygienic factor. Like if you cannot type on your PC in an office job, then well. So that kind of mentality is what we need to bring inside, because AI is going to be the next typing. If you don't know how to use AI, how are you supposed to work? Maybe not now, but in 5 years, 10 years, awesome.
It's quite interesting that you mentioned typing as a basic skill people used to be proud of, because I think it's very important to keep an eye on the question, is it really a severe change happening or not? Because we've got a lot of sections where there is not much change at all. Basic technologies we all have here now, checkers with buttons or with zippers, we have it for decades and even longer. And even if we expect change in society, like gender roles, most of the care work and families is done by women. Still nowadays, even if we be honest in this room, assume. So there are lots of fields where there's not too much change, even if we want to have change happen. But there's another part, and that's the most important part we are now focusing on, where there is severe change, but is it also disruption? Disruption means, if we go to the theory of Clayton Christensen, that there is a severe change, changing really all the business models and all the success factors we had in the past. And that's, I think, the hardest challenge to the people, because they lose their structures, they use their trusted processes from the past, and especially the leaders, they are not sure anymore what to do if they don't have a vision how to continue their business, how to improve or to change their business models, how to go into new markets, how to change the structures of their organizations. And it's even harder because there are sometimes younger employees who have a vision, and there are leaders in hierarchical systems who don't have any vision. So what to do with these teams who are now changing their structure, have to change their structure. So it's also a challenge coming back to people and their core role within the social systems in their organizations.
Thank you very much. And if you're looking for hashtags for your next post or tweet, what I'm taking away is AI is the new typing. That's the conversation starter. You don't want to hear my scratchy voice, I want to hear your voice. So please don't use the Mentimeter, but just stick up your hand if you want to have a question or you want to add a piece of information so that we make this panel interactive. And while you're still thinking of your next best question, I have thought of my next best question. And that is, one of the saying is the leader brings the weather. And we've heard leadership a lot this morning as a factor that can be contributing to change, a factor that stops change, but a factor that we can't ignore. So what is your maybe best practice? What is your hack? What is your magic moment that you had in touching leaders, in promoting change, in supporting you? Because we all heard these beautiful initiatives they're doing, but it always starts with getting the first sponsor in the organization. So what is your magic? How are you doing it?
Yeah. I think my magic is really when leaders realize the way they automatically behave, maybe when they're under pressure and under stress, and how they stress other people with this. And when you really tell them, wait, press the pause button, and just, becoming aware of yourself and becoming aware that you have a choice, and that for me, a leader has to be at least 1 or 2 levels of consciousness higher than the rest. For me, it's like you cannot master others if you cannot master yourself. And this is when you get them. It's really like, ooh, maybe there's something what I can do about myself. This is where I usually get them. Not all of them, but
2 or 3 level higher of consciousness? Okay.
Can I put an example to that one? Thomas. It might sound as a customer that you know, as a client, as an organization. There are a family-run organization. We don't give names. But what I want to bring in there is when you're talking about that is had to work with a team throughout about 1 hour and a half with a project to get the leadership team working better together. And an amazing amount of prep time went into that. First of all, setting up the project, getting them all understanding why is this useful, how they should see this, and what's the thing that they all aim at achieving. First workshop was more on getting them to figure out who they are. Second workshop, we actually moved into big objective team coaching. By the third workshop, I've invested time in getting, they said I had to fly, take a car and drive there for 5 hours, be on site, deliver 2 days and come back, just for you to imagine what was the amount of planning that had to go. And one day before, the leader just by mistake tells me that he's anyway on vacation. Leadership? I'm sorry, what? And I refused to go. Because if the leader is not there, what kind of message is he sending to this team? What is he trying to say? You can do whatever you want, but anyway, I still have my own plan. Is he trying to say, yes, I'm in all for this? Or am I saying, you know what, I have my own plans, and whatever it comes out, I'll still land on my feet, but you, the rest of you, figure it out. And I think that's the key of understanding and keeping in mind is we do try to support teams, but where's the leadership? Who's the one that's supposed to be with them in the same time? And also the same as the level of organizations. When you look at any kind of CEO and think through, I think most of you might know the book from Jim Collins, From Good to Great. Think of all of those examples when he talks about, the reason why I love that book is there's a lot of statistics in there. Mine are nerdy mindset, something that we can trace back to numbers, not just perceptions, feelings, imaginations, numbers driven. What was that level 5 leadership? Knowing to get your team together. So I think we can continue to invent new models, typologies and things, but we can also do the simple things. And for me, leadership, when it's about how is it changing now, it's a conscious decision or a very clear decision about what kind of leader do I want to be, what's the modeling that I want to put in this organization, the way I want to interact. And I think that also helps with not only positioning, coaching and team coaching and all of the support functions, because it's not just us, there are others also beyond us, but also positioning how can the entire team perceive once they reach out for help and for support. I'm looking at Robert here, and I think if you have questions around coaching in organizations, how this is changing on a global level, I think that would be also interesting to see from a general perspective. But for me, leadership definitely starts with that. Definitely starts with getting them to look at it's their role and it's the way they have to engage with it.
Own.
Yeah. Own it, Thomas.
So the idea is, it's not surprising, but leadership starts with the leader. That's one of the core messages of your example. So if the leader is not prepared to lead, and if he does not accept his leadership role, and we've got lots of examples, if you're really honest, looking at an organization, lots of people get in a leadership role because they want to have a car, they want to earn more money, they want to have a larger office. Power. Yes, a little bit of power they don't use because they don't know how to use it and things like that. But often they are not prepared to lead, and it's their own mindset which is the problem. So starting with the self, which means more self-reflection in the first thing, and then giving more self-responsibility to the others, because you're sure of the responsibility in your leadership role. This is the next step, which is necessary if we come to change scenarios and disruptive situations. So first of all, we have to we need, if we start, for example, an integrated development process in the leadership skill and leadership culture section, we need the backing from the top, which means we need the hierarchical system, and they have to be sure that they want to go this way, and they want to be the first person with going into this process. And not only, like I often have it, people say, okay, I'm a leader for more than 20 years, so I don't need any training, I don't need any coaching. It's for the younger guys, they don't know how to behave and what to do. And then the question is, who's training more? In football, for example, people who are in the first level Bundesliga in Germany, or people who are the second level Bundesliga. And of course, the first level is always training more, and they are better. And they are better because they train more and they have more experience. But in leadership, we often have these guys who say, oh, I'm leader for more than 20 years, don't touch my leadership processes.
I would like to connect to that because, yes, leadership is leaders, right? And leaders are human. And for us, that part of development is connected, of course, to learning. So having that place where leaders can be vulnerable and learn and improve their skills, right? Because you can always improve, you can always get better, and have that space where you have the opportunity of learning a bit more, of thinking a bit more. That's one way of also supporting them. Because when it comes also to, let's say, 20 years of leadership, leading a millennial or leading a Gen Z can be absolutely two different things when it comes to the generational values. What do they need? What do they want? So having that skills also require, in a certain way, constant upskilling in order to be able to manage that change that we were talking before.
And Anya?
I did already.
Okay.
Can I add something? Before I've seen that there's a question. There's something that came to my mind because we keep on talking about leadership, and that is in system thinking, is this idea that a system or the leadership exists only if somebody follows. So I think we should also keep that in mind. It exists because there's something that's also be shown as being followed. Hence, that's also a skill that needs to be learned and awareness that comes with it.
I'd just like to throw in a thought here. So I believe that most organizations, corporate or non-corporate, are becoming more and more disconnected from their purpose and from their, from their surrounding. So I'd like you to, I'd like to pick your brain on what is the impact on organizations in terms of their relationship with society, economy, and, all of that. Thank you.
Alright.
Well,
Do you want to
this
go
song
first?
goes out. I can take one thing because there are so many studies that quote the trust levels. So the trust towards governments, the trust towards your state, your town, and so on is lower than ever. And where the trust is going towards people that you can relate or companies. For example, social media. People you can relate, the influencer phenomenon, that you give a part of your trust to a person that you might know in person or not, and get your purchase influenced by this person. And the other part is company. So more and more the companies will, since they are asked to have that certain way, that position, then will need to build that relationship, not just as a say service provider or product provider, but also in the relationship with the community. So the relationship between the community and the companies are getting more and more closer, stronger, and especially when you are an employee. That kind of trust is absolutely critical, because the moment you lose your trust towards not just your boss, your leadership, but your company as well, you're already looking for another company, another job, another opportunity.
One more answer and then
I can add on this. Trust is really important. I can only say for our company, I don't have the feeling we're going away from the purpose. Actually, on the contrary, for the first time, I have the feeling we are really getting there. And our CEO, he's really trusted all over the company. And he has a lot of, contacts to politics, and we're talking to the customer all the time. So I think this is going into the right direction. But I fully agree to what you said.
a short answer.
Sorry, can I add one quick thing to that? And I agree with you, like on my side on the company, because what I love the most is the fact that we talk about building like health for generation, and we're a family-owned company. So that kind of say what you do and do what you say, like have that kind of trust that is walking the walk, basically. It's something that for us is absolutely critical, and one of the things, the major factor when it comes to that trust.
If we keep the frame of disconnection, it's like with your Wi-Fi connection. If you disconnect it and you don't like it, start reconnecting, which means building trust, which means leveling your purpose, which means starting working on leadership and cooperation principles and things like that, or doing more stakeholder management, just reconnect.
Thank you very much. Last question.
I'd just like to bring in another perspective, perhaps. When I was a junior manager in my 20s, I was given a department, 50, 60 people. I was absolutely terrified. And I had a mentor, and I said, what should I do? I'm now the leader, I'm younger than most people, blah, blah, blah. And they said, take 2 weeks off, show yourself that you're not essential. That's completely different to what you guys are arguing. But that was the best advice I've ever had as a manager. You are not the only person in the department. And if you're not there, things will still carry on.
But I completely agree to this. So what we really say is, if the leader is doing a good job, he's not needed anymore. That's exactly our philosophy.
Already yourself responsible.
Yes, but I hadn't even started, and we're here, why is the leader there? He's essential, he's fundamental to the
No,
team.
I wouldn't agree to this.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood it.
I think there's a difference between taking the ownership of your leadership role, so accepting it, and comparing to having to show it constantly to your employees that you're the leader. And I'm with you, I don't think you have to show it. That's the part of, you need to have somebody following. Following implies that they take a decision to follow. It doesn't mean that they have to and they will do it because of fear. This has been a big discussion that I think I've raised my hand a couple of times also in our community of coaches, saying, why do we have a conversation about AI fear-driven? It should be a conversation based on what are the opportunities and what's the level that I need it to, not fear and the sense of it's gonna take over you, do something about it. No, it's what's in there for you. Is there something that you want to use from that? Wonderful. Otherwise, take a decision. Same here. Take a decision what kind of leader you are and show up for that. And at the end of the day, you will still have leaders that will put and impose themselves via fear. That's still something that you can change and adjust and adapt. And to the conversation earlier, this part of this disruption between purpose and organizational activities, I think there's a shift in there from the perspective of how organizations are looking at what's actually purpose. And I'm with you, I think there's a bit more, because of the speed of all of the facts and context, and I'm curious right now, all of the things that have just happened in the last 2 or 3 days, that will have a big impact also on the purpose of a lot of organizations, I want to believe. And there's going to be questioning the purpose of a lot of other organizations. Thank you.
Okay, so we have 3 minutes left. So
Yes,
maybe
one more.
question and
I'll
then we-
moderate. No worries, I'll moderate.
I just want to add on this. I mean, I think we still need leaders, but they have a different role. You know, you cannot just say goodbye. There's some decisions that have to be taken by leaders. And if you give the power to your people, not everybody is ready. So you have to meet the people where they are. And some need more coaching, some you just let them go. So
Yeah.
you just cannot throw, I mean, for me, empowerment is not throwing over the fence and say goodbye. So there's no.
Yeah. And tomorrow, to support that, you will get a sneak preview of our questionnaire that we set out in Germany from ICF to find out what is going on in terms of coaching in Germany. And do you know what the number one reason is why organizations offer coaching? Who is the number one target group that they want to serve? Why did they start coaching programs? Most of the respondents. The leaders. That's when they started. And where do they see the biggest benefit of coaching? After they have started it, where do they see it? In terms of well-being and dealing with change. So our leaders are a great entrance port. Maybe dysfunctional leaders serve in implementing coaching, but I'm not putting out a business case here. Mihai, a 10-second question and one answer.
Conclusion is very simple. Being a leader is very hard. But it's very important to answer the question why. Because we are looking at leadership as something that everybody knows, but actually nobody defines coaching very clear. What is leadership? And if we define leadership as a meta competence, because it's not easy to be a leader, and we establish which are the areas in which a leader must be prepared, then must be much more efficient, also for leaders and also for teams. And of course, coaching is the best environment for a leader to grow. No?
Mihai, that wasn't a question, that was a wonderful insight. Thank you for sharing that.
Also,
See, there's a whole lot of experience in the room. And you.
There was also another question in the back. Or sure.
Yeah, very last one. Preferably a statement and an insight.
No, that's okay.
The question can go to one person.
Okay, really quick. I was very curious, Christina, how did you solve it when management decided to not come to the last workshop of the 3?
Very simple. I did not go. So for me, it was a very clear decision. If I go, I'm going to model that. That's fine. So I'm not going to do it. And I explained very clearly. I got on the phone. I called the guy that was the general manager. I said, "I'm sorry, you're really in vacation?" Yeah. I'm already with the family. Then we don't do this. You have to go back to your team, tell them that we are not coming. Plus, you have to find a date and send me 3 options on the email. And I did not go. It created a bit of what is it? And then I had a one-to-one coaching session with him and asked him also questions around what were you trying to model. Helped him. After that, he changed some things. But I think at some point you have to let that happen. Thank you.
Innere Haltung or rigorous candor is a core competency for our coaches. Play out well here. Okay. I thank you very much for being here, for everyone who asked questions, and please an applause for Thomas, Anja, Ilaria, Christina.
Thank you very much.